Federal prosecutors have accused the disgraced former president Donald Trump of committing crimes in an attempt to hold on to power after losing the 2020 election, according to a newly unsealed court filing. The filing argues that Trump is not entitled to immunity from prosecution. It reads, the defendant asserts that he is immune from prosecution for his criminal scheme to overturn the 2020 presidential election because, he claims, it entailed official conduct. Not so. Although the defendant was the incumbent president during the charged conspiracies, his scheme was fundamentally a private one, working with a team of private co-conspirators. The defendant acted as a candidate when he pursued multiple criminal means to disrupt, through fraud and deceit, the government function by which votes are collected and counted, a function in which the defendant, as president, had no official role. When the defendant lost the 2020 presidential election, he resorted to crimes to try to stay in office. With private co-conspirators, the defendant launched a series of increasingly desperate plans to overturn the legitimate election results in 7 states that he had lost: Arizona, Georgia, Michigan, Nevada, New Mexico, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin, the targeted states. His efforts included lying to state officials in order to induce them to ignore true vote counts, manufacturing fraudulent electoral votes in targeted states, attempting to enlist Vice President Michael R. Pence in his role as President of the Senate to obstruct Congress's certification of the election by using the defendant's fraudulent electoral votes, and, when all else failed, on January 6, 2021, directing an angry crowd of supporters to the United States Capitol to obstruct the congressional certification. The through line of these efforts was deceit, the defendants and co-conspirators' knowingly false claims of election fraud. The document, unsealed on Wednesday, was submitted by Special Counsel Jack Smith's team after a far-right, MAGA Republican Supreme Court opinion that granted broad immunity to former presidents, Donald Trump, while narrowing the scope of the prosecution. Trump's legal team has employed delaying tactics across the various legal cases he faces, which have largely been successful. The 165-page filing may be the last chance for prosecutors to outline their case against Trump before the November 5th election, given that no trial will take place before he faces Vice President Kamala Harris. Prosecutors included details such as a White House staffer hearing Trump tell family members, "You still have to fight like hell, regardless of the election result." The new filing also references previously unknown accounts from Trump's closest aides, portraying an increasingly desperate president who, whilst losing his hold on the White House, used deceit to target every stage of the electoral process.
Because if Mike Pence does the right thing, we win the election. All Vice President Pence has to do is send it back to the states to recertify, and we become president, and you are the happiest people. Mike Pence is going to have to come through for us, and if he doesn't, that will be a sad day for our country. Because you'll never take back our country with weakness. You have to show strength, and you have to be strong. Mike Pence, I hope you're going to stand up for the good of our Constitution and for the good of our country. And if you're not, I'm going to be very disappointed in you. I will tell you right now.
We need backup.
Upon being informed that his Vice President, Mike Pence, was in potential danger after a violent crowd stormed the U.S. Capitol on January 6, Trump reportedly responded, "So what?" When told by an advisor that a lawyer mounting his legal challenges would not be able to prove the false allegations in court, Trump allegedly said, "The details don't matter." The filing describes conversations between Trump and Pence, including a private lunch on November 12, 2020, where Pence offered a face-saving option for Trump, saying, "Don't concede, but recognize the process is over." During another private lunch days later, Pence urged Trump to accept the election results and run again in 2024, to which Trump responded, "I don't know. 2024 is so far off." Despite these discussions, Trump disregarded Pence in the same way he disregarded dozens of court decisions that unanimously rejected his and his allies' legal claims, and that he disregarded officials in the targeted states, including those in his own party, who stated publicly that he had lost and that his specific fraud allegations were false, prosecutors wrote. Although the defendant was the incumbent president during the charged conspiracies, his scheme was fundamentally a private one, Smith's team argued. When the defendant lost the 2020 presidential election, he resorted to crimes to try to stay in office. Trump has pleaded not guilty to 4 criminal charges, including conspiracy to obstruct the congressional certification of the election, defrauding the U.S. of accurate results, and interfering with Americans' voting rights. Smith's prosecutors disclosed their evidence to demonstrate that the remaining allegations against Trump should withstand the Supreme Court's ruling that former presidents have broad immunity for official actions taken while in office. The filing also discusses new evidence such as transcripts of witness interviews and grand jury testimony, though much of that information will not be made public until a trial occurs. Senior officials in Trump's administration, including former Vice President Mike Pence and former White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows, appeared before the grand jury during the investigation.
Hold the line! Hold the line! Hold the line!
42. We're about 5 miles out. We're trying to make our way through all this. Mike Pence didn't have the courage to do what should have been done to protect our country and our Constitution, giving states a chance to certify a corrected set of facts, not the fraudulent or inaccurate ones which they were asked to previously certify. U.S. demands the truth.
The court filing was submitted last Thursday, but U.S. District Judge Tanya Chutkan had to approve proposed redactions before it was made public. Trump's lawyers opposed allowing Smith to issue a comprehensive court filing outlining their evidence, arguing it would be inappropriate just weeks before the election. They also contended that the entire case should be dismissed based on the Supreme Court's ruling. Trump campaign spokesperson Stephen Chung dismissed the brief as falsehood-ridden and unconstitutional, reiterating claims that Smith and Democrats were hell-bent on weaponizing the Justice Department in an attempt to cling to power. The U.S. presidential election remains close, with Harris holding a slight but steady 4-point lead over Trump in most national polls. The situation in crucial swing states is more complex, as tight races in these key areas will determine the election outcome. If Trump wins the election, he is expected to direct the Justice Department to drop the charges against him, further proof of his corruption and dangerousness. Trump is an enemy of the United States. Nobody in their right mind will be voting for him.
They were pieces
wonderful people. These were great people. The crowd was unbelievable. And I mentioned the word love. The love in the air. I've never seen anything like it.
I'm Anthony Davis. You can catch me on the 5 Minute News YouTube channel and podcast, on Wednesdays co-hosting Uncovered, and on Sunday on The Weekend Show with Midas Touch.